Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today to talk about the Moving Flint Forward grant opportunity with the Flint and Genesee Economic Alliance, funded by General Motors. We're so excited to bring this opportunity back to our community again. I have a couple of guest speakers with me today. A few housekeeping items before we get started that I want to touch on, though. A recording of today's session will be available on the website following this presentation. So if you miss any portion of it, you'll have the opportunity to go back and review it. Please ask your questions or add your comments at any time using the comment feature, whether you're viewing on YouTube or Facebook. We will have time to address all of these at the end of today's session. If you watch this session, you start to apply, and you feel like you still have questions, we are here to support and help, and we will reiterate that throughout the entire presentation. We'll be hosting an open office hours for questions and technical assistance later this week, and those dates will be provided in this presentation. And we also have Tracy Joseph here with the Flint Genesee Economic Alliance. You can schedule a one-on-one with her at any time, and that information will be provided as well. So with that, Eric, I'm going to hand it over to you to kick us off.
Thanks, Bree. Welcome everybody to today's webinar on the Moving Flint Forward Small Business Grant Program. We're really excited to do a third iteration and cohort of this program with generous funding from General Motors. Today we'll be going over a few things so that you can be as prepared as possible to apply to our grant program, and then to the key information that you'll need to know if you are awarded. So today's agenda, we'll go through our introductions, and then we'll get into the purpose of the grant program. We'll talk a little bit about eligibility requirements, the grant amounts and how you'll get paid if you are awarded, what the application process looks like, and what you'll need ahead of time to get that application started. We'll go over the requirements of the grant. So if you are awarded, what you'll be expected to do and what you'll be expected to complete to be in the program. The last couple items we'll go over, we'll talk about the review committee and how the applications will be evaluated, and going over a very detailed timeline. And then lastly, we'll go over any questions that there are. So I'm going to hand it off to Tracy to get us started off on the introductions to the staff that you'll be working with.
Hello, everyone. Tracy Joseph, Business Support Manager for the Flint and Genesee Economic Alliance. That's me.
And then you'll have myself, Eric Anerchuk, the Grants and Development Director. I'll be working behind the scenes to help with any grant paperwork and the administrative process. And then lastly, overseeing the program will be Tyler Rossmessler. He's the Executive Director of the Flint and Genesee Economic Alliance. Not pictured here, but who will also be helping us is Brianna Mosier. She'll be helping us coordinate some of our cohort meetings and getting our trainings lined up and coordinated as well. Next slide, please. So the overall purpose of the Moving Flint Forward grant program is a really cool collaborative partnership between General Motors and the Flint and Genesee Economic Alliance. We are looking to invest in small businesses throughout the city of Flint, trying to help them stabilize in this post-pandemic world and to support revitalization efforts across the city of Flint in various neighborhoods. We are excited about this opportunity, and we're excited to learn about your small businesses and how you plan to grow going forward. The purpose of this grant is really for business expansion purposes. This is not a direct COVID-19 relief grant. So if you are looking for resources for that, we do have a spot on our website that you can look to, and other of our partners that can help you out with that. But this is more about growing your business a little bit beyond the getting started. So that is what we're looking to do here today. In the next slide, Tracy will go over some of the eligibility requirements.
Okay, so we're asking as part of this grant program, this is a growth grant, so we want to make sure that you own and operate your business within the city of Flint. I know Flint has a lot of different fingers and different spaces, but we want to make sure that you are definitely in the city of Flint. You need to have less than 20 employees, and your business must be in existence for a minimum of 1 year. And we suggest and ask that you provide your 2020 tax returns. You cannot be a franchise, and you cannot be a nonprofit. And you cannot be, at this time, a previous Moving Flint Forward recipient. But we do ask that any of the past recipients participate in any of the cohort meetings and trainings, and maybe be advisors and mentors as part of this program. It's a really cool kind of base that forms with a lot of these grantees. We do require that you have a business plan, and it needs to be submitted with your submission. But we do have technical assistance to help you improve your business plan or dust it off a little bit. There's free services that are available. A couple of different resources would be University of Michigan Innovation Incubator. We also have the Small Business Development Center. You can also visit a couple of our other partners like Metro Community Development. I know they help in business planning. So there's a lot of different options to help you get that thing nice and ready to submit. We also ask that you're in good standing with Laura. So please make sure that you check prior to your submission. It's very easy to submit your documents and check right away, sooner than later, because we don't want any last minute 911s. So make sure you check that. I can certainly show you where to go to check your status. And you also want to make sure, if you are not an LLC, an S Corp, or a C Corp, if you are a DBA, please check at the county to make sure you're current. You also cannot be in bankruptcy, in the middle of a bankruptcy during your date of submission. And the business owners cannot be listed on the Michigan State Police Sex Offender Registry.
All right, so where do you go to apply for this grant program opportunity? So you'll go to the website, developflintandgenesee.org /moving Flint forward. There you will complete an online questionnaire to see if you qualify. There'll be a couple of simple questions that you will answer. And if you answer honestly and correctly, you will receive immediately the online application for the program. You must fully complete the application. It's not just a one-page application. It's not just those 4 questions. That's just the qualifying questions to get you into the system. You must complete the entire application, and it must be done so by 5 p.m. on Friday, March 18th, 2022. Make sure that you're filling out your entire application. I cannot stress that enough. And then lastly, after the applications have been received, we will be doing our review process, and we hope to announce the grantees in early April of 2022. Next slide, please. In the next slide, we're going to go over the grant amounts and payment schedule. So grantees will be awarded up to $10,000 for the following. As we said before, to expand your business, you can make repairs or leasehold improvements to the facade of the building or inside to make it a little bit aesthetically pleasing for your customers. You can purchase new inventory or equipment. What you cannot pay for is funds to pay for federal, state, or local taxes or expenses that have already incurred. As we said, the grant period will go from April 1 to December 1, so the expenses must occur during that time period. And then also, as I said before, this grant will not really cover COVID-19 related expenses. So that includes mortgage payments, payroll, utilities. Those cannot be paid for with this program. It must be for business expansion projects. So how will the funds be awarded? So we give our grants out in 3 installments. The first 40% of the grant will be dispersed after the grant agreement has been signed. And then 30% will be distributed after the grantee has turned in an interim report and the supporting documentation to complete that process. The supporting documentation includes receipts and invoices on all grant-related expenditures. You must pay for your expenses using a business credit card or check. We will not be using cash payments or be accepting handwritten receipts. And then the final payment will be paid. The last 30% will be issued upon the final submission of the final report and all the other requirements have been fulfilled. So this is a reimbursement grant. So basically that means that you must pay for your expenses first and then ask for a reimbursement. So just keep that in mind that you will need to be paying for some of these items ahead of time before you receive the funds. And then Tracy will go over the next slide.
Oh, just a second, please. Oh, okay. So requirements of the grant, we need for you to attend 2 to 3 of the mandatory cohort meetings for networking and technical assistance. There is an interim report that is due by August 1st. You can always turn that in early. It's a very small amount of questions that are asked, like how are you progressing thus far in your grant? Have you met the requirements? Did you get a site visit from me? Have I been to your location to see what your business is all about and how things are looking and how the project is going? It's really not a hard, we can, sit down and do it together. I'm more than willing to help in any way I can. Then there is a final report that's due on December 1st. The final report is a little longer, but it's doable. And that's when you present all your final receipts. Sometimes I like to see pictures of the final result, and so do a lot of the people on this program. And then also we ask that you may get a visit from some of our communications and marketing team to do a video and talk about your project and how things are going and how you're enjoying the program, because we know that all of the grantees have really enjoyed a lot of the trainings and a lot of the things that are happening to their business as they're going through. So that's the final report on December 1st. Don't let it overwhelm you, because we always help. And then also participate in any publicity efforts, as I just mentioned, and being available for photos, videos, quotes, success stories. GM loves success stories. They really want to know what's happening here in Flint. And we hope that you will like this program. It's a lot of fun. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you. So how will the applications be reviewed and evaluated? So we will be convening a group of community members of the Flint community on various positions. We will have a General Motors representative. We will have a previous Moving Flint Forward grantee as a reviewer. Some of our local philanthropic partners will also be reviewing on this committee. And we will be looking for the following things in the application to score and kind of help push forward the top grantees that we'll be selecting. So business history, we want to hear about your story, the evidence of longevity in the community. How long have you been in Flint? What do you sell? What goods or services do you offer? How do you get involved in the community? Do you volunteer? Do you get involved in festivals or different things like that? That's the really great stuff we want to know how you're deeply involved in your community and why you've been here. What is it that got you into business in the first place? As previously mentioned, we do require a business plan, and that is to understand your plan for how the business will succeed and how the business will have and obtain future sustainability. So what's the plan to keep the business going long into the future? And we want to be able to help be part of that process with this grant. We also need an economic hardship statement. So that's the statement of need, or why are these funds requested? We want to know, what have you been struggling with in the past and how this grant can help you take your business from where it is now to the very next level and get you really growing and booming. So we asked to know, what is it that you need to use this grant funds for and why? We will also be evaluating on use of funds. So you told us why you need the grant funds and what you plan to do with it, but we also need to know how you plan to spend the dollars and how much money you anticipate. So putting together a quick budget and getting kind of those costs figured out ahead of time, so we know that the funds are being used in alignment with the scope of work that you have proposed. Lastly, we'll be asking grantees or potential grantees to identify as a minority-owned business. General Motors and the Flint and Genesee Economic Alliance are very interested in supporting a diverse group of grantees, and we want to make sure that we are inclusive to as many different types of business owners that there are. So we want to know if you're a minority-owned business, and that way we can help support you even further. Next question, or next slide, please. And then here's the timeline. So we announced publicly the program last week on February 18th. We are asking that all of the applications be due by March 18th by 5 p.m., either by mail or through the system. The review committee will be scoring and looking at the applications in late March, and then we will be making the grantee announcement in early April, hopefully. And then, as we said, we'll be starting our cohort meetings and technical assistant meetings. And in between there, we'll have our interim report due on August 1st. And the final grant report and the grant period ends on December 1st. So we've got the whole rest of the year of 2022 to work on these projects and get these businesses put together and help them support each other through networking and cohort opportunities. So next slide, and this is the time for questions. So if you have any questions, please put them in right now, and Bree will kind of help us sort through them if there are any out there.
All right, so like Eric said, now is the time to submit your questions. We have a few comments that came through while you guys were speaking that I would just like to address. Where did it go? Oh, it looked like it was removed. We had a comment from someone who was a nonprofit, so they did not qualify. But Tracy, can you speak on any assistance for nonprofits if we have any of those on the call listening to the presentation?
I do have some programs directed towards nonprofits. They would be with different organizations. So I highly recommend that you set an appointment with me so we can have that conversation, and I can get you directed to the correct partner within our county.
Great. I'm going to drop your link in the comments now. So if you're watching and you want to schedule an appointment with Tracy, you will have the link to do that in the comments here. Awesome. Thank you so much. We did have one question come in just now.
Yes, so can we clarify on the timeline the funds need to be used? So once you get that grant agreement signed, then you can go ahead and start using your funds. You'll get that 40% right off the bat, and then you'll have to wait for the other disbursements. But the grant period goes from April 1st to December 1st. And so any expenses during that time frame will be applicable to this grant program. So anything before April 1st will not be allowed, and then anything after December 1st will not be allowed. Clearly, though, when you are looking at expenses, make sure that you are checking with us. Obviously, you'll be submitting a budget with a proposed scope of work, but if anything changes during that time frame, you'll have to check in with Tracy to make sure that those expenses are still allowable. And it's a good idea to just check in with Tracy as you're going anyways, to make sure that you're spending the dollars correctly and getting the documentation that you'll need on the back end for reporting as well.
Thank you, Eric. A couple of additional questions that have come through. Does a business qualify if they are transitioning from online to brick and mortar?
So this grant program will allow brick and mortar businesses, and we've supported online home-based businesses as well. Mm-hmm. So whether or not you're transitioning from one or the other, both are allowable under this program.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like that might be part of the growth of your business, which is, mm-hmm. What these funds are intended to be used for.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your question, Michelle. Good to see you on. Another question that popped up. Are there any grants available to small businesses that are just starting up? So Tracy, this sounds like a you question.
It is. It depends on the length of your startup. I do have a couple ideas and a couple programs. So once again, I highly recommend that you schedule an open office hours with me as soon as you can so we can start looking at what's available. We do have within the county what's called the E-team, the entrepreneurship team. And it is all the organizations that help small businesses. We're in one group, and we kind of sort through all small business problems. And we have, if someone doesn't know the answer, one of the partners do. So I highly recommend that you reach out to me.
Great, thank you. And again, the link to schedule an appointment, a one-on-one appointment with Tracy at the Small Business Help Desk is in the comments. So head to the comments for that link to get some time with Tracy. Another question on the payments and the timeline, if we could just elaborate a little more on the reimbursement part and the 3 installments, and I'll put that slide back up on the screen for everyone.
Yep, absolutely. So after you receive your grant agreement, once you've been selected, you will get your first 40% of the grant right off the bat. And so that'll be ready for you to go to start your projects right away. As we said, the second 30% of the grant comes after the interim report has been received and the supporting documentation, which is we've requested to be due August 1st, but you can certainly submit that earlier to get your second payment sooner if you need it. So if you get done with the first part of your project really fast and you need to get on to the second part, then you can do that anytime before August 1st. But we ask for that at the latest by then. And then the last 30% will be submitted after you've submitted your final report and all the other requirements are filled. Being that this is a reimbursable grant means that you must pay for the items first with your own funds, except for that first payment. You get that first payment right off the bat. So you've got a little bit of money to start with. But the other two means you have to spend your own dollars first, and then we will send you a check for the dollars that you've spent. So you do need to have a little bit of capital in hand to be able to go forward with this grant program, because you have to pay for the things up front and then we reimburse you afterwards. But it goes as quick as you want it to go. So if you're willing to get on top of the things and get things spent and get us the documentation right away, we can get those checks to you pretty quickly, but it's up to you to get that information to us as fast as you can.
Great. Thank you, Raphael, for your question. Another question that came in regarding funds. How can funds be leveraged, for instance, historical significance net with other grants?
So we would love to hear in your application if you are using these funds to leverage other funds. So that means if you've had other grants that you've just received or other loans or other items like that, and you have these funds, these grant funds proposed to go something towards that, we would love to hear that, because that means that you are partnering with other people, you're looking for other revenue sources, and that's a big thing in the grant world. We love to be able to leverage other sources. You can also, if you are awarded our funds, that means that you can let other funders or other grantors know that you've received our funds. So that means that you can use that momentum, hopefully, to get some other grants from other people as well. So we highly encourage you to list any grant funds that you've already received in your application. And then please, if you receive these grants, let other funders know so that they can know that they're also leveraging other grant funds.
Great. Thank you for that. And we have some questions coming in on the timeline of things. So I'm going to go ahead and put that up here now. And our question. So can you apply for the application now or wait until March 18th? So Eric, can you clarify the timeline of the process using the slide?
So you can apply right now. We went live on February 18th with our application process, and we already are receiving applications. So you can do it anytime between now up until 5 p.m. on March 18th, and that will be the cutoff.
And I would encourage those on the call to apply as soon as possible. Like we talked about in some of the requirements, and Tracy, you can speak to this a little bit more. You'll have to submit documentation along with your application, and that includes a business plan. So if that's something that you need to update or work on and need technical assistance for, we see in the comments that people are already scheduling appointments with Tracy, so she'll be busy. But the sooner you get started, the sooner you know what you need to work on. and have that March 18th deadline to work towards. Tracy, what else do you have to add on that?
Yes, I just wanted to add that please start working on it now. The documentation is not overwhelming. It is not a difficult application. We just really want to emphasize your story, your business, the growth. And that business plan is going to help you. I am so sorry. That business plan is going to help you narrow down the pieces of the required in the grant agreement. And I'm willing to help give some little tricks and tips. So please don't hesitate to reach out.
Great. And I am including the link to apply again in the comments, as well as the link to schedule an appointment with Tracy. I also want to remind everyone that we will be having an open office hours session this Thursday at 10 a.m. And I will drop the link to attend that as well. That's going to be required attend by registration. And the reason for having that group office hour session, certainly you can schedule a one-on-one with Tracy, but if you have a question, it's likely that someone else has the same question. So this is just a chance for you to come in with your peers and ask those questions and go through the application together. So that will be this Thursday at 10 a.m. So if you get into the application and realize you need help or you have more questions, and you would like to come in and ask those in a group settings, you can attend one of our office hours that's coming up later this week. Okay, so a couple more questions that came in. Let me just scroll back up here. We had one question from a new business owner. We talked about this a little bit in the requirements, but Tracy or Eric, do you want to explain further? So I am starting a business this spring. Would this apply to me? I do already have my equipment LLC.
Unfortunately, we ask that the businesses have been in business at least 1 year and can, produce maybe a year of taxes to show us that you've been in business for a year. As Tracy said, there are other resources for startup businesses that are just getting into it, and it sounds like that's not going to be you're not going to be starting until the spring. So maybe connect with Tracy on some of those other resources, but this grant program might be a little bit too far along for you on your specific instance.
Mm-hmm. And then another question from Michelle here. Purchases are made prior to the application. Will they be reimbursed? So this is only for purchases incurred during that grant period, April 1st to December 1st. Eric, is that correct?
Yep. So the grant period is April 1st. So if your purchases was made before April 1st, unfortunately, that wouldn't be allowable. So it has to, if you're planning on making a purchase for this grant, please wait until after you've been awarded, first of all, but then also wait until after April 1st so that that purchase, whatever it is allowable under this grant program.
Thank you for that clarification. We had another question come in regarding rental properties. So would a rental property owner qualify for this grant?
Yes, it would be allowable. You can apply, and if you can provide us a good reason why you've been experiencing economic hardships and what you intend to do with that $10,000, and if you can make a great case for it, then yeah, that's absolutely allowable.
Okay. And Ashley, I apologize. I did not see this question come in. Do we have to have filed our taxes as an individual business entity, or is filing our taxes as an individual sufficient?
As long as you're registered as a business and you are filing a business within your personals, like say a DBA, you are claiming business income. That's what we're looking for, that business entity to be viable.
Great.
Sorry, Eric, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Eric, did you have anything else to add?
Nope, you answered it just as the way I would. Just making sure that that if you've listed your business information in your personal taxes, then that's exactly what we need to see. It's basically just to show the legitimacy of the business being in place.
Good. And I'm scrolling here to make sure we didn't miss any other questions. So if you are on the line and you have any questions, now is the time to ask them. I want to pull up one slide real quick just for us to go over again the requirements of the grant. So if you apply, you receive the grant, this is what's going to be required of you. And I want to touch on this first bullet real quick. Eric mentioned that I would be assisting in these cohort meetings. And while they're listed as a requirement, I do just want to mention that these truly are an opportunity. So if you're selected for this grant program, you are selected alongside of 14 other small businesses. And it's not always the opportunity that you get as a business owner to take some time aside for yourself, your own personal development and growth, which is really the theme of these mandatory cohort meetings. So while it is a requirement, it is an opportunity to take some time for yourself to grow as a business owner and learn from your peers within the community. It's a great chance to have some knowledge share going on. And when you say to someone, oh, I own a business, a lot of times people don't realize what all that entails. That means your HR, your business development, your marketing, and those are some of the things that we will touch on during these really professional development opportunities with your peers. So while you're only required to attend 2 to 3 of those, I would encourage those on the call who do receive the grant to attend as many as possible because, like I said, it really is just a great opportunity to learn with your peers. Any other reminders that you guys want to add on the requirements?
Yeah, just to say, to add on to what Bree said, I know that a lot of our past grantees have said that the cohort meetings are their favorite parts of the grant program. So, yeah, it does say mandatory, but the grantees get so much information out of those meetings, and they get to talk to each other about the challenges they're all having and the solutions that they've come up with or the solutions they've discovered in operating in the small business community. So that has been one of the highlights of this program, has been the cohort meetings. And so those are really great opportunities, like Bree said, to take advantage of. And then as Tracy said earlier, the interim and final reports aren't too bad. It's just really just answering a couple of quick questions about the program. Did you see, business growth because of these projects? How do you see that impacting the future of your business and the sustainability? And being able to share. I mean, the publicity efforts too. That's another thing that's really awesome. Is that not only are you sharing with us and our funder about the success of this program, you're getting a free opportunity to market yourself to the community even more. So it's like having a free commercial, based entirely on your business that gets spread across, social media, the news. So, those are really great things that are kind of like side effects of the grant program, that you get to have this free promotion that people, will get to see your business and get to see what you're all about. So those are really great opportunities to take advantage of.
Yeah. And those success stories are truly what lead to us receiving another round of funding. So luckily, this is the 3rd year that we've been able to offer this grant program, and being able to report those success stories back to General Motors just shows that the program is working. It's doing great things in our community and encourages them, hopefully, to fund another round. So we had a question come up regarding the review process. Amari, thank you for that. I'm going to transition to the slide now. Eric or Tracy, if you want to start talking about it as I bring that up, that'd be great.
Sure. So like I said before, our review process, we will have a review committee made of several community members, both faith-based, philanthropic, previous Moving Flint Forward grantees, other economic development officials from the city of Flint. They will all be utilizing a scoring rubric that will be predetermined. And we'll be going over these questions again. So we'll be wanting to know your business history. How did you get into business? What is your involvement with the community? That business plan is key to being able to share with us how sustainable you are and how you plan to move forward. That economic hardship question is really giving us the understanding of why are you asking for these grant funds and how can we move forward, and helping you grow your business. And then, the last couple items, how do you plan to use those funds, and are you a minority-owned business? General Motors wants to fund 3/4 of the businesses to be minority-owned, so that's why we asked that question. Once you get into the application page on our website, there's the 4 qualifying questions that will get you into the system, and then you'll receive the full application. And again, remember to fill out the entire application so that we can score you appropriately, and our reviewers can really get to understand your business fully. So the more information you give us, the better we can do to understand why you're applying and how we can help you out.
And I would just like to add to my role in this grant program is to help you through this application process and to review and triage to make sure everything that you need is in your application. So if you just submit and you're happy with it and you don't have any questions or there's no problems, then it's going to be reviewed, looked at, make sure everything is there for the review committee, and it's going into a subfolder. You may wake up on the 16th of March and say, oh my gosh, I think I messed up. Well, you should probably make a phone call and we'll check it out.
Mm-hmm. And let's just take a moment to thank our review committees, past and upcoming. I believe we're still in the process of putting this year's review committee together, but in looking and hearing all of the requirements, you can imagine this is a very lengthy process. When it comes to reviewing these applications, our review committee is made solely up of volunteers. So they're volunteering their extra time to look through all of these applications to make sure that it is as thorough and an inclusive process as possible. So thank you to them for their hard work. Thank you, Amari, for your question. We had another question come through. I have 2 that I would like to apply for, a profit and a nonprofit. Is that okay? Or do you all advise me to apply for one business? So again, as a reminder, this program is specific to for-profit businesses. Nonprofit would not qualify. However, if you have a nonprofit and you're looking for assistance outside of this grant program, please feel free to schedule an appointment with Tracy at the Small Business Help Desk, and she can help direct you to the correct resources in our community. Anything that you guys would like to add on that?
And I would just say, if you're a person that has multiple businesses, maybe pick one as an application to provide the one that you feel has the most connections to the community, that can really support neighborhood revitalization and has potential to really grow and expand. We really want to spread the wealth. So if you do have multiple businesses, we would probably only be selecting one, just to give you a heads up on that.
Great. All right, so one last time, I'm going to pull up the timeline. Eric, take us through what our applicants are looking at.
All right, so we went live last week on Thursday, February 18th with the program. That means that you can apply right now on our website. You can go to the Flint and Genesee Economic Alliance website and get your application started. Those are due by 5 p.m. on March 18th. That's a Friday. And they have to be turned in by then. Get started as soon as you can. That way, if you have any questions or you need to change something on your application, we have time to do that. The review committees will start shortly right after then in late March to start their scoring and review process. And then we hope to have an announcement of grantees very early in April. The first interim report is due on August 1st. But again, if you are done with your project up to that point and you need to get going further, you can submit that early at any time. And then the final report and the grant program ends on December 1st. So last expenses need to be made by then. Your final report needs to be submitted. That way we can get you that last 30% of the grant as quickly as possible so that you're not having to say, where's my money before the holidays?
Mm-hmm. Tracy, anything you want to add on the timeline?
Just reiterating, please start applying now so that we can make sure you get the correct help.
Yes, and if you complete your timeline or your application at 2:30 in the morning and Tracy gets the notification, she's fine with it, as long as you're getting it in early so that we can make sure all of your documentation is provided before the deadline of March 18th at 5 p.m. The link to apply is in the comments. Again, we are going to be hosting a public open to all office hours this Thursday. This is not March yet. February 24th at 10 a.m. You can register online at flintandgenesee.org/events. That one will be register required because, like I said, if you have a question, it's likely that someone else has the same question. If you would prefer to schedule a one-on-one with Tracy regarding this grant opportunity or additional business support, you can do that through the Small Business Help Desk, and that link is here in the comments. And Tracy, you've already got some comments coming in. I'm sure your email inbox is blowing up with appointment requests. So that's what Tracy is here for. She's here to support you with this grant opportunity with all of your small business needs. So feel free to schedule some time with her. As we close, Eric and Tracy, any additional comments that you would like to make?
Not at this time. I'll
We're
talk
really
later.
excited. We're really excited to see your applications. And again, we're really grateful to our funders, General Motors, for providing this great opportunity for small businesses in Flint. And, we're really excited to get the process going and to hear all about your small businesses and what you plan to do in the future.
Yes. So again, one last time, apply now through March 18th at 5 p.m. The website is in the comments as well as here on the screen. Very easy to remember, developflintgenesee.org/movingflintforward. We look forward to seeing those applications come in, and we look forward to assisting you throughout the process between now and March 18th. If you have questions at any time, please feel free to give us a call, reach out online. We're here to help, and we wish all of you the best of luck. All right. Thank you, Eric and Tracy, for joining us today. Thank you to all of our viewers for their questions. We will continue to monitor the comments box if you are watching this on demand and have additional questions, and we will respond to those as quickly as possible. Thank you, everyone.